Ardre, welcome. Thank you for joining the Legacy Movement. We really appreciate you taking out the time to let us interview you for our website. One, to hear about your entrepreneurial journey, and two, so you can serve as an inspiration and as a teacher and a mentor to others. So thank you for taking the time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't we start off with you just introducing yourself, the organization that you launched, and just telling people a little bit about the background, about where you're based, and what the value proposition is.
Okay. My name is Ardre Orie, and I am the founder and current executive director of the Pink Wish Foundation. We're a 501c3 organization. We were founded in the state of Florida approximately 4 years ago, so in 2009. And right now we are serving Orlando, Florida, Gainesville, Florida, Tampa, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia. Our mission is to empower girls and women through economic independence as well as leadership. And so one of our main plights is to get our girls to college debt-free.
Excellent, excellent. I think everyone can appreciate being debt-free, so I mean that's definitely something that's needed, kind of given these current economic times and the high cost of college. So I love the mission of the organization. One of the great things that I love about your background is that you actually have extensive educational experience, both a bachelor's and a master's in education, special education, and also you are a specialist in educational leadership. And oftentimes as I meet with entrepreneurs and founders, they debate the value of higher education. Is it really worth it? And this is whether you're on the nonprofit social enterprise side or you're working at a traditional for-profit entity. Love for you to talk about why you decided to pursue advanced degrees and how they've been helpful to you through your journey.
Yes, advanced degrees and education is key. First of all, we're promoting education and making sure that our young ladies understand the importance of the pursuit of higher education. So it's most important because even if your business venture fails, you always have the option to enter the workforce. You want to be a viable contestant in the workforce, and so having education certainly assists with that. But I didn't start as an entrepreneur. I followed the track that my parents set for me, and that was to go to college and get an education and get a good job. And so I did just that. I pursued several degrees, but also I was in pursuit of a career, and that career was in education. I learned through education, though, and serving as an administrator, that there were many things that I wanted to change and many areas that I'd like to make a difference that I didn't have the ability to do so. So the nonprofit organization allowed me a little more leniency in terms of making the difference that I wanted to make.
Excellent, excellent. So if you could talk a little bit about how you came up with the idea or the mission for the organization. A lot of times when I speak with founders, they are oftentimes what I like to call in the box. And they have ideas or different passions, but they struggle with figuring out, okay, well, how do I know if this is really going to work? Am I really passionate about this? Would I stick this out if things weren't going well? So just kind of, just at the idea phase, really having a tough time figuring out what is the idea they should put their heart, blood, sweat, energy, and money into. So I'd love to hear about kind of how you conceptualize the mission and the need for your organization.
Right. Well, I grew up in a single-parent home, and I realized that there must have been something missing. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I knew there were some components that a father could have offered me, some additional advice, maybe some economic support, just many components that were missing. So when I was in college, I had an idea to do a mentorship group targeting young ladies. And that's all I did in college. I thought about the concept and just kind of determined if there was a need for it. In working in education, I continued to search that need and to research and find out exactly what students needed, what did young ladies need. So it was kind of an informal analysis of the market, if you will. And I found that to be very beneficial. I interviewed parents, I interviewed young ladies to find out what kinds of things they would benefit from, what would be of interest to them, and also what things that I could do differently than existing organizations. So in putting the organization together, we put together focus groups of community members, individuals that will be able to help us to advocate for what it is that we wanted to accomplish and the difference we wanted to make in the community. And so that kind of gave us a springboard in terms of resources as well as supporters. I would encourage anyone to conduct market analysis. No matter how much you want to do something, you have to know that there's a need for it and that your services are vital and that they're going to make the difference that you need, or you can't be successful and or profitable.
Excellent, excellent. So you've got this nonprofit structure, and for the social entrepreneurs watching this video, this is a critical decision for them. Do I form a 501c3, or do I form a social enterprise, which is an entity that makes money but also does good at the same time? Heavy debate on both sides. I think oftentimes what I see is if you already have a great kind of built-in funding base of people that you know are going to be lined up to give you money, nonprofits is probably a good idea for you. If you don't have that, you might be better served starting off by selling a product or service so you can just be sustainable on your own. Love for you to talk about the decision to start as a 501c3, and also if you ever thought about converting to a social enterprise, how difficult would that be? Kind of walk us through your thought process around that.
I do, like everyone, I'm sure, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I started as a 501c3 just because I wanted to do something good. And I believe that good does not equal financial stability for your company. Additionally, when people hear nonprofit, unfortunately, they still believe that that means free, and it does not. So I think that when a program is being designed, every program, regardless if it is a social enterprise or if it is a nonprofit entity, there must be some service designated to generate income. So every organization, every business, no matter what the entity is, must find its niche in terms of generating income.
So that is a great point. Having a revenue stream that keeps the business funded regardless of whether or not you're getting donations from philanthropic organizations, wealthy individuals, or people just chipping in $25, $50 via crowdfunding site, whatever it is.
Right.
So help us understand kind of how you thought about the pricing model, the revenue mix, because for people who are not well versed in business and they have this huge desire to go change the world, maybe they want to go focus on global poverty, maybe they want to focus on reducing teen pregnancy.
Right.
If they don't have a business background, trying to figure out a revenue model or a business model per se is a very challenging task.
Yes,
help us understand, because you have an education background,
yes,
how you made that leap to, hey, I have to understand how we're going to get funded, so let me go learn these business skills. I'd love to hear how you went about that.
Right. To date, we've been in operation this will be the 4th year, as I stated, in 2009. We have not received any major grants and no major fundraisers. And so I say that to say that we're functioning on our own. And that makes me happy because we're not going to close our doors if someone decides that they don't want to grant us or they don't want to provide us with donations or additional funding. One of the things we looked at is the customers that we intended to serve, one, and then we also determined what we wanted the end result to be. Can't remember whose quote it is, but it's always, planning with the end in mind. So we kind of looked far out and determined what kind of activities we wanted to conduct with the young ladies on a monthly basis and how we would make those things happen. And so what we came up with was a membership dues system. And we found that people who make an investment in themselves tend to really value what it is that they're investing in. So we asked for each of our members to make a small commitment on a monthly basis that they would pay into this dues system, if you will. I took every entrepreneurship class that was offered for free through every nonprofit center in any city that I was in. I enrolled in any online class that was offered for free that taught about budgeting for companies and small finance. So everything that I could read or any piece of information that I could research or any class that I could take, I did that. And I still do even now because there's always more to learn.
Excellent. That's such a great point about you never stop learning.
No.
as an entrepreneur. You never know everything. Whether you've been successful before, maybe you sold a company before on your second venture, you're not through learning. That is very, very key for people to understand. One of the other interesting things I loved about your organization is you've expanded multiple cities, and I think that's something that when you talk to people that are in the box, they're not even expansion strategy, they're just trying to get revenues through the door.
Right.
So you are much farther along than a lot of people, so I'd love for people to kind of learn how you went from that first location, right, first chapter, to the second, then to expanding out of state and now doing Florida and Georgia.
Right. Well, the first thing, I have 2 daughters, and the thing that I say to them always in terms of business is that every time you conceptualize something, you should always think of it in terms of a franchise. So any idea that you come up with, you need to think about it in terms of being able to successfully duplicate that idea. So I never thought of the Pink Wish Foundation being a one location organization. I've always been planning to make it be a national organization, which is what we have aspirations of, and international as well. But in order to do that, I think that a strategic plan is key for any nonprofit organization. And that strategic plan, the creation of, allows you to bring together team members and to think about your projections financially, as well as the activities that you will conduct to reach your goals. So it's basically a business plan, but for nonprofits, and I think that it could be beneficial for a for-profit entity as well. But strategically planning and also finding individuals who really support what you're doing. As I mentioned, we hosted the town hall meetings in different locations to garner support early, before we even launched our first program, so that we would be able to establish customers and a support base in every location.
I think that's a great strategy. Even as I think about the legacy movement, before we launched, it was, talking to people in my network about our value prop and seeing if people were even interested in this.
Yes.
And then getting that positive reinforcement and using that as, proof of our concept that, hey, I've got friends in my network who said, if you build this, I will pay for it and buy it from you, and I will be actively engaged in your platform. So that gave me the confidence to go out and just do it, because I knew that my friends and my former coworkers were my first customers. So even if we didn't, knock it out the park with people I didn't know, I still had revenues coming through the doors. I could sell it to my friends. And I think that that's a great way, like it's the way you're doing your customer discovery. It's, I'm going to do these town halls, I'm going to do my interviews, I'm going to have events, I don't need the website up, just the idea, this is what I'm doing, let's see how many people are involved, and here is now my proof of concept. So if anyone ever said, let's say you did try to raise money, and they said, well, prove to us that people are going to want this service. Well, let me show you the videotape of the town hall that they had 200 people show up without the website. That's proof of concept. I love that. Switching gears a little bit to the challenges of being a female entrepreneur. Oftentimes, run into female founders who talk about the dynamic of, kind of giving their blood, sweat, and tears and capital to build a business and having to put all their energy into it. That's their professional ambition, but they have a personal ambition of being a wife and being a mother. So you obviously have direct experience with that. So would love to hear, and this is great advice for all the female founders out there, how you went about thinking about that trade-off and the balances of being a mother, being a wife, and also being a successful, kind of business owner.
Right. The one word comes to mind, and it is downsizing. I will...
Say that again for everyone, please.
Downsizing. September 7th, I should know that, but Friday will be 10 years that I have been married, and... Congratulations. Thank you. It's a big thing, I think, because, there's so many messages that kind of send you in a different direction, especially women being career-oriented and reaching your goals, and we're told a lot of times that you don't need a man, or you don't have to have a partner or be married to have children and all of those things, but I do think it's possible to have it all. It just really is about finding balance. I've had to step away professionally a lot of times because I needed to be a mother or a wife first, and I've had to find a way to work around the schedules of everyone else. But the most important thing that I did that I believed would help me be successful is that My husband and I discussed it, and I do have someone who's supportive, so I think that makes a huge difference as well. But we discussed living on one income, and that I would take a portion of my savings to be able to launch the venture. And so in order to do that, that took a lot of squeezing and downsizing and downgrading and all of those things. But if that was what I truly wanted to do to pursue this goal, then it was a necessity. So to downsize, to also be sustainable without the business making money, one of the things that I encourage people to always consider prior to launching any venture is if you're willing to do it for free, because you will. There will be days that you work for free, and so are you able to do that? I don't advise anyone to just drop their job and just launch out and pursue their dreams. I think that also requires a strategic plan as well, and so the implementation of this has been planned for maybe about 2 years prior to actually being immersed and going full-time with the business.
Wow, that is, I mean, you like just took the words right out of my mouth. As you know, I've sat with so many would-be founders who the first thing they tell you is the reason why they can't start a business is financial constraints, partner not supportive, partner doesn't work, won't pick up responsibilities at home or with the bills, won't have this honest discussion about money and how to alter things to get in a position to be a business owner. So I find it so refreshing to hear someone say, I actually took a really thoughtful approach into how I did it. I sat down with my partner and had the honest conversation about how we're going to make this work, and then I put it into play. 10 years later, still married, 2 kids, successful entity. Like, that is the ideal story that people need to hear, that it is possible, but you have to have these honest conversations and make some sacrifices and give yourself time limits. I mean, you said, took money from savings, I'm going to take some of this and just try it, but you touched on this earlier in the interview, you have degrees to fall back on.
Yeah.
So in the event that it doesn't work out, it actually doesn't matter because 1, your partner's supportive, 2, you can just go get a job.
Yes.
Because you're already well educated. So that, I mean, took the words right out of my mouth, that's beautiful. Talk a little bit about motherhood specifically. I think that you're in a very interesting place where you have 2 young children. And so I hear stories all the time from mothers just in corporate America trying to balance, trying to, go up the corporate ladder, dealing with the nanny issues and just, price of private school. I mean, so many things go into having kids and then having a career at the same time, or just having kids, period.
Right.
So would love to get your perspective on motherhood and entrepreneurship, how you're making it work.
It's very difficult. My daughters, they talk to me about having my phone all the time, and I'm making, so many calls, and I'm emailing all the time. But what I say to them is that I'm available to you at any point in time. Because I have this, entrepreneurship as a lifestyle, I'm also more flexible. So I'm able to do things like attend field trips and go eat lunch with my daughters and throw parties for them at their school because I have that flexibility. Whereas if I was working my 9 to 5, those things would not be an option. I don't have to miss the first day. But I do think not sleeping may be the best remedy. A lot of the work that I do is done when I put them to bed. And so after I've spent quality time with my family, then oftentimes I'm up, or I get up really early in the morning, maybe 4 a.m. to do some things that don't take away from the quality time that I need to have with my family. But I do feel it's a difficult balance. And I also think that the power of delegation is really effective in this manner. So now that I'm able to build a support team and a system that works, there are some things that I can maximize my time doing, as opposed to kind of like I need to send an email, or I need to do something really quick, or I'm trying to be on Twitter and do all of these things. I'm able to delegate some of the things that may take up valuable time with my family.
Do you use a virtual assistant by any chance? I hear a lot of chatter about that amongst solopreneurs and people trying to get off the ground about the use of virtual assistants. And when you start talking to the entrepreneur who's a control freak, it kind of gets real dicey about how much they want to give away. So do you use use virtual assistants at all?
I have utilized virtual assistants, and I've utilized some with success, and I've utilized some with failure.
Okay.
But I definitely think it's something, again, that has to be a part of your budget. Entrepreneurs, especially for small business, you learn that you do it all. You do the tweeting, and you are posting on your Facebook page, and you are writing your newsletters. And so I believe that you should be able to do all of those things, and that way you know what can be delegated. I really feel like you don't have a good grasp on the things that can be delegated until you've worked every portion of your business. And I think then you can effectively delegate.
Excellent. So just to backtrack just a little bit, because I wanted to get this in there too, because I think it's an interesting dynamic. So motherhood versus fatherhood. So men make trade-offs too, in terms of how much time they get to spend with their families, whether they're the corporate guy or the entrepreneur. And we oftentimes hear that conversation or read that article about the woman who has to make these sacrifices. Curious to know of your male friends who are entrepreneurs, do they ever come to you about advice about how to balance kids, a great marriage, like with that? Because they're probably going through the same struggles. No one's really writing articles about them.
Right.
But I'm curious to know, what do your male friends talk to you about? Do they get advice from you on kind of how you're balancing everything?
Yes, I have quite a few entrepreneur friends that are males, and it's odd, but many of them do come to me for advice, but most of them are prolonging being married or prolonging having a family because they are investing their time and energy into their business. And I'm not sure if everyone would agree with me, but I think that may be a luxury that men have to be able to do that, because I think women sometimes, we feel like we're up against a clock, to have a family and make all of those things happen, whereas many of my male friends, they don't feel any pressure. They say when the right one comes along, or they often come to me and ask, am I being a little too
selfish,
or, careless about not being in hot pursuit of someone? Or I've seen a lot of them let a lot of great women go also because, they were trying to build something with them and they just didn't have the time to commit. So it's very interesting. I can't think of one. I can think of 10 male entrepreneur friends right now, and I can't think of one who has determined to put family first before their entrepreneurship. And I'm not saying that men don't, I'm just saying the examples that I have, they've determined that that's what the priority is. And also they feel like they want to be substantial and financially stable before having a family. And I think that's also commendable.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all about guys trying to be the best men they can be before they enter into a partnership,
right,
because that will build a strong family unit for the long term.
Right.
Him coming into the relationship with stability, it's not just from I've made $10 million in my business. It's, hey, I've achieved these things that I've set out for myself. So now I feel comfortable dividing my time now with my wife and with my kids because I've done the things that I want to do professionally, and it's not this huge tug internally that I struggle with. And then now he's clear to be the best husband, the best father, the best business owner, because he's kind of got some things taken care of. So I definitely understand that perspective as well. If you could just think generally, 2 to 3 takeaways about entrepreneurship that you've learned, either, over the course of kind of your journey or at the beginning you wish somebody would have told you that helped you along the way, that you think every entrepreneur should hear, whether it's social enterprise, founder, nonprofit exec director, traditional for-profit person. What are kind of those 2 to 3 things that everyone needs to know?
I think the first thing is that just because you build it doesn't mean they'll come. A lot of people think they have this great idea, and if they put it all together, then that automatically equals customers. But I don't believe that that's the case at all. And so I encourage everyone to conduct market analysis. I cannot stress that enough. I wish that someone had given me the skills to do it. I was doing it informally and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But I certainly continue to learn about it and continue to engage in it in an ongoing basis. The second thing is managing your finances. I think is huge. You really don't know what ground you're gaining with your business. you're not really in tune with your finances. And so I think either if you're great with finances and you can, utilize QuickBooks or any of the platforms that are available, or even before hiring a virtual assistant, I would hire a bookkeeper. Someone who can consolidate your finances for you. And also if you're preparing ever to have your venture looked at by investors, you gotta have your money's gotta be intact, and they always wanna see your financials. So starting from day one, when you have a very small amount of money to manage, I think it will make for great success if you're able to manage your money very well. So market analysis, knowing that there's a need for what you're doing, and also managing your finances. And last but not least, I can't say enough about solving a problem for someone. Even if it's from the perspective of a for-profit venture, every business has the opportunity to solve a problem. We all have problems and we all want solutions. And so I feel that being able to solve someone's problem makes you an automatic helper. And so if your business helps people, then I think prosperity is certainly possible.
Oh, that is, literally, it's almost like you're at our education tab in our recommended reading list and looking at the topic areas and just pulling out like these gems. On market analysis, there is a great book called Business Model Generation that we recommend to all of our users, and also anyone that is browsing our website, that helps you with market analysis and making sure you're going after the right customer segments, you're using the right distribution channels, the right marketing strategies. It's a great book that people should focus on that chapter specifically on the business model canvas, which is exactly what you're talking about. And then on the understanding finance piece, we also have a recommendation for a book on understanding financial statements. It's a real easy kind of, if you've never taken a finance course before, here's the balance sheet, here's the cash flow statement, here's the income statement, these are the three main ones, here's how they link together for all kind of your non-traditional business folks that we also recommend to our users. And then third, focusing on a problem to solve. We hone in really deep on this, and that's the best way to know that you're delivering something that someone will pay for, because you're actually helping them either make more money, save time, save money in some way. So if you're solving a problem for someone, that's your business right there. And then you just have to go through this process that we talk about a lot on our site about making sure that someone has the ability and willingness to pay for that solution that you're providing. So that's great. Finally, I just want to touch on next 6 to 12 months for you. What do you need? Are you trying to roll out in certain markets with different chapters? Are you looking for key individuals for your organization? Are you trying to raise money? Like, if someone sees this video and says, wow, Ardre really inspires me, she's doing such amazing things with an organization, they've got your website link, they know who you are, like, what can they reach out to you and help you with in the next 6 to 12 months?
That's great. I'm looking for business professionals that I don't otherwise have access to. So for example, if there's a business professional who is well-versed in strategic planning or well-versed in income generation, I'm looking for those individuals who would be willing to consult with our organization to help us get to the next level. As mentioned, I majored in education, so I'm always looking for professionals who can take us to the next level in the business realm, things that I don't know. Additionally, I'm in the process of launching a for-profit company. I have La Rev Image, which is something that I do to generate money for myself and my family. That business is an image consulting business. We deal with the overall appearance, behaviors, and communications of individuals. We train executives on being ambassadors for their companies, how they can represent overall to increase the bottom line. We also teach etiquette and civility courses for young leaders, young adults. And so that company is doing well, and I'm able to have somewhat of an internship in the for-profit market. But when you talk about social enterprise, we're developing another arm of the Pink Wish Foundation that will encompass entrepreneurship and teaching that to the young ladies that we service. And so I'm also looking for people that are well versed in teaching entrepreneurship classes outside of what information I've garnered through this journey. So people who are who have their MBAs, or those who might want to volunteer their time to help young ladies understand entrepreneurship, because we want them to know at a younger age how to pursue this successfully, because they can, again, increase their income or ability to generate an income at a younger age.
That's amazing, and I think it's great that you're a member of our ecosystem, because as you know, that's what I do. I teach entrepreneurship in a lot of different places around the country. We have volunteer teachers from our ecosystem that sub in for me when I'm not in a particular city and a workshop needs to be led. So we recruit users from our ecosystem all the time for panel discussions, for business planning competitions, for pitch competitions,
Yes.
practices, teaching workshops on sales, marketing, strategic planning. So I think, one, you're a part of a great ecosystem where you're going to get a lot of this help. And then two, I think there's a lot of great ways that we can work together kind of over the long term to make sure that your organization does go to the next level. So I'm so happy to have you a part of our ecosystem, because I think you benefit a lot from being in it. And on that note, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts and your insights with us. I think people are going to learn a lot from this interview across a number of different dimensions, and we thank you for being a part of our ecosystem.
Well, thank you all so much for having me, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I know great things will blossom from it.
Definitely, thank you for that.
Thank you.